a fair conference. So
Thank
can you
you.
please tell us a little bit about yourself so we get to know you?
Okay, a very good evening to all of you. Thank you for having me on the platform. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, AJ. And OJ, it's nice to meet you. I hope we can see your face at some point. Okay, so my name is Ogochukwu Nweke. I'm an African from
Okay.
Nigeria. Yeah, I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 20 years. I'm a relationship consultant, and I'm also a professional mediator. I teach. I teach law. I teach social media. I teach mediation, and I also organize seminars on relationships, both for those who want to consult in relationships and people that are in relationship as well. I do consulting for them. I think that will be all for now. Yeah, I live in
Yes,
Ghana.
I think that is enough.
Yes, thank you
Yes.
so much. Yes.
Thank you so much for that awesome, powerful introduction, sir. So I think the floor is set for you to unleash the knowledge unleash today. So tonight we'll sit back and absorb every knowledge that you have for it. So please, the floor is open to you, sir.
I thank you very much. And like I said at the beginning, I'd like to thank Mark and her team, all you guys for the efforts that you're putting in. Some of the times it looks like, excuse me, the impact is not being felt, but I can tell you for a fact that you guys are doing a great job. And I just trust that things are going to get better. You know, when you dedicate yourself to touching lives and preparing people for the future, some of the times you might not have money showing for it, but the truth of the matter is that everyone that has passed through your hands who has succeeded in the future, has a chapter in their story dedicated to you. And so I'm hoping that these few words will encourage you and keep you on the path. Don't throw in the towel. I believe that nature and eternity has a way of rewarding people like you. So just keep holding on, keep trusting. Don't compromise the principles, don't compromise the faith, just stay on the path. I believe that we're going to have a wonderful future, just because of the contributions that you guys are making. So my responsibility tonight is kind of threefold. There's the part where I need to talk about, ways that our jobs could be destroying our relationships. And then we look at love and work, how they connect, and what your career could really mean to your relationship. And then we'll top it up with issues related to finding true love and happiness. We'll just see how it goes, but fundamentally, we're just going to be, looking at how our relationships and our work intertwine, how they make contributions to the sustenance or destruction of each other. And these are actually realities of life. Now, every time we speak about relationships, and of course, what we're talking about this evening is, relationship that is erotic or romantic, between a man and a woman, or two people that are in love. Now, most of the times, one of the things that we don't realize about life and relationship is the fact that, see, we're always growing. And so we start out with a lot of excitement. We make promises, and some of the times, we make promises out of the love we feel. We're just saying to ourselves that, I'll go to the moon and back for you. I'll do anything for you. I'll swim the deepest oceans and all of that. Now, those are things you say when you're in love, and it gets overwhelming. It's a beautiful thing to say. But there is something that a lot of people do not pay attention to, and that is what I like to call the transitions of life. The transitions of life. Now, work is one of those transitions of life. When you're going into a relationship, you're not just walking into a relationship with that feeling that you have. You're walking into a relationship with your flaws, your weaknesses, your strengths, your successes, and the ambitions that you carry in your heart, things that you want to achieve in your life. All those things connect to you, and they are part of the package that you call yourself. That is why it's very, very important that the knowledge of self is always first when you are going into a relationship, because when you have the knowledge of self, you understand that a time is going to come in your life when you're going to push for another level, push for another thing, something that is going to drive you, make you a better person, make you excited about life. So when you get into a relationship, those ambitions are still there. They never disappear. They never disappear. So you're spending time with the person, you know, you're spending a beautiful weekend, you're having a holiday, but a time is going to come when your ambition kicks in, when the responsibility you have in the office kicks in, when the fact that you've been promoted at work kicks in, when the fact that you've gotten a new job kicks in, a contract, it kicks in. And when it kicks in, you are transiting from one point to another. What it means for your relationship is the fact that if you used to spend 7 hours with the person that you love, the person you're in a relationship with, you might find out that you might not even be able to spend up to 2 hours with that person. Now, because we do not prepare ourselves for seasons like that, the way we interpret it is that this person does not love me anymore. We are just very quick to say, this person doesn't love me anymore because the person, you know, is no longer doing what he or she used to do. We don't go out anymore. We don't go for photo shoots. We don't spend time together. We don't go for a dance. We don't watch movies together anymore because there is a reality you're not paying attention to. And that reality is that he or she has a job. And that job is part of their lives and part of what gives them fulfillment. Now, when you are unable to deal with this, you're definitely going to have your productivity being affected. It will affect your productivity. It will affect your profitability. And so one of the things that I recommend that people do is that as you grow in your relationship, be open enough to discuss with people what the timelines of your life is or are, okay? Think about the work you're doing. Prepare people for what they are getting into. Understand that every relationship you walk into will have implications. What the marriage of someone that is married to a doctor is might not be the same with someone that is married to a teacher, for instance. And so you need to be very, very realistic about the person you are walking into a relationship with. Don't pretend about their job. No matter how much time they are willing to spend with you today, don't pretend about their job. Don't pretend about their work. I'll give you a few instances. So you're in a relationship with a doctor, and the doctor is a surgeon. Now, you know that doctors run shifts. And from time to time, there are emergencies that they do not have control over. And so you're in a relationship with a doctor, man or woman, and you guys are spending that wonderful moment together. And all of a sudden, his phone rings. Most of the times he's going to have to get up and leave you where you are because he has to go do that job. He has to go save a life. Now, one of the things that you may not have done before you walked into the relationship was find out if the person you are going into the relationship with fits into your life and the work you want to do. Now, these are the realities. That is why I always say to my friends that love is not blind. People in love are just too hasty to make decisions. But love is not blind. And love is not enough. Love is not capable of keeping or sustaining a relationship. It is sacrifice that sustains a relationship. Love does not sustain a relationship. And feelings come and go. I wish you can take these things down, but let me start again. Love is not enough. Love by itself cannot sustain a relationship. It is sacrifice that sustains a relationship. And it is more beautiful when that sacrifice is inspired by love. Now, what I'm sharing with you is reality. Now, you can go ahead and say, if we love each other, it's going to work. But go and find out from the people who have said that, how their relationships ended, especially when they're not willing to make sacrifices. Then always remember, feelings come and go. Feelings come and go. So if you build your relationship on how you feel every material time, you're going to lose the whole essence of the relationship, because you're not prepared for that kind of relationship. Imagine that you find yourself at the mall and it's a guy and all the ladies at the mall are all over him and they want to take selfies with him. And the next thing you see is you're on Facebook and you're seeing some of those selfies and it's going, me and my boo. You know, I mean, people call people whatever it is they like to call them. Now, because of that insecurity, because of the struggle that you're having, you will find yourself saying that you're not even sure whether this person loves you or not because of the people around them. But the truth of the matter is that There are things you're not paying attention to. And that is why I want to strongly recommend that we look at it from so many different perspectives. So it might not just be about the issue of the work is destroying your relationship, but your approach to the work might be what is capable of destroying your relationship. So know who fits into your life. Know what you're paying attention to. Pay attention to the transitions that come along with your life. Now, there are so many people that say to themselves, I will never be in a long distance relationship. You see, when it comes to relationships, never say never. Especially when you know that the person you're in a relationship with has ambitions, has a career that he or she wants to pursue, has a life that he or she wants to live. You shouldn't cut off or cut short that life or truncate that life merely because the person is in a relationship with you. We go into relationships to add value. We don't go into relationships to destroy. We go into relationships to build. And so if you're in a relationship and the person is not better off in the relationship than he was before he or she met you, then there's a problem. It means that there is something that you two are not getting right. It could be that there's something that you're keeping that person from doing. And because of it, that person is not being as fulfilled as he's supposed to be. So the person gets a job in Kumasi or in Tamale, and you had always hoped that you two will live in Accra. Or maybe the person even gets a job, and has to move to the Netherlands or the US. How are you going to manage it? That is why when it comes to work and relationship, traditions are very important. What kind of foundation have you built your relationship on? A lot of people talk about relationships. We never pay attention to the kind of person we're going into relationships with, the traumas that they've had to deal with, the insecurities that they haven't healed from, the issues that they're having in their lives, the experiences that they have had as people, their disposition towards life, how they interpret things, how educated they are, the family background that they come from, the culture that they are coming from. See, all these things are things you need to pay attention to in order to be able to communicate properly. When you do not pay attention to these things, you won't be able to say the right things. See, like I said, what you want to say might be okay, but how you say it might be the reason for misunderstandings and the reason you're not getting the kind of feedback and response that you were hoping to get. So it's important that we pay attention to that. Whether it's a long distance relationship within the same country or outside the country, you need to be able to communicate. And then you need accountability. You need accountability. You need to be able to speak to each other. You need to be able to bring people up to speed with whatever it is you're doing with your life, with the friends you're keeping, with the places you're going to, with the things that you're dealing with. You need to be able to share information so the person is able to vouch for you. And so the person is also able to stay and not worry about you more than he or she ought to. If you're, for instance, in an environment where you cannot take calls while you're at work, let the person understand that you cannot take calls while you're at work, except if it's an emergency. So the person will stop calling, especially when you know that the mind is a battlefield. And when the people are unable to reach you, they begin to struggle in their heads. They're wondering, what you're doing, if you're okay, and what's wrong with you, and all of that. The mind is a battlefield. And there's something very interesting, and forgive me, the ladies here, forgive me. I am not saying that you're the only ones that do it, but you do it more, especially from the work that I do. I notice that you do it more. So a simple question, sweetheart, where are you coming from? And then the lady says, I went somewhere to get something. I went somewhere to get something. You haven't answered the question. But as far as you're concerned, you've given information, but you haven't answered the question. You haven't communicated. You haven't been accountable. I went somewhere to get something means zilch. And so you need to pay attention to stuff like this. And brothers, if you do it as well, know that much as you have the right to know what is going on in the lady's life, she also has the right to know what's going on in your life. It's called a partnership. And so when you're able to do these things, you see that Your work doesn't threaten your relationship, and your relationship doesn't threaten your work. It's also possible for your relationship to threaten your work. And that is when you begin to see that when you're in a relationship, you begin to lie to your office so that you can spend a little more time with the person you're in a relationship with. And what I say to people is that the moment you begin to do that, you're violating certain principles that should take you further in life. And the moment you're doing that, love has become a distraction. When love is a distraction, it is capable of destroying you. And so you need to also be very, very careful. If you cannot manage that little thing, if you're manipulated, for instance, into refusing to go to work so that you can spend time with the person, you can misappropriate funds in your office to bring it home to this person to spend. One thing leads to another. And so you need to be very, very careful. You need to present your values to the person you're in a relationship with. You need to help the person understand you. You need to help the person see the direction that you are going so that you're able to balance things out properly. The other thing I'd like for us to pay attention to is, and this is primarily to the brothers. And of course, I'm not saying it's only the brothers that do it, but from the work that I do, it's brothers that do it more. So you're in a relationship with someone, but in your mind's eye, the plan that you have for your life is that you want a wife that is going to be a full-time housewife. But you know that the lady that you're in a relationship with is career-oriented, is interested in building herself, is interested in that independence to be able to say, I'm earning my own money, I'm doing the work, I went to school for this, and I want to pursue this career and do it well. Now you don't say anything, and you just carry on with her as though you are proud of what she's doing, you're happy with what she's doing, and then all of a sudden, when you get married, you begin to tell her, I need you to quit your job because I don't want the house help to take care of the children. I don't want to come home to food that is in the freezer. I want you to love me because I'm the man of the house and all of that. You are being wicked. That's the only word that's coming to my mind right now. So you're being wicked, and you need to be very careful how you manage stuff like that. You met her working, so you shouldn't take that work away from her, okay? If you don't want to be in a relationship with someone that is working and you want a full-time housewife, maybe you're in the wrong relationship. Or have a conversation with the woman, up her mind as to whether she wants to be with you or not. But don't throw stuff like that into a relationship when everything looks okay. So ladies, please find out what the man wants from you, what his expectations are as far as relationships are concerned. Find out what he thinks about a woman that is working, and maybe even a woman that might earn more than her husband. Find out some of those things. Don't leave it to chance and say, we love each other, it will work. My pastor says it's going to work, so it's going to work. We'll just pray about it and get direction from the Holy Spirit. You're joking. You're joking. One of these days, it's going to stare you in the face, and it's always going to be a rude awakening. These things are real. Okay, talk about it. What does he expect? What does he expect? The kind of work that you're doing, you're a doctor, you're a marketer, you're a banker, you know, all those things. You cannot be home to take care of the kids all the time, except maybe for weekends. You cannot make dinner or not be able to cook, you know, food that is already in the freezer. So all you need to do is warm it and all of that. The man wants his food fresh. You're not the kind of woman for him. So be realistic enough to kiss him goodbye and move on. Because if you walk into that relationship, you're going to face abuse. It means you are setting yourself up for something that is going to scar you and scar you dangerously. Remember what I said, love is not enough. Love is not enough, okay? So what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to throw away? What are you willing to hold on to? Let people know where you stand. Let people know what you're capable of doing. Let people know what you're willing to sacrifice. Let people know the life you want to live so that they can make up their minds. There are people that say, oh, I met her in a nightclub. She was singing. And then I fell in love with her. And then when I married her, I want her to stop singing. You met her singing. That's the career she's been pursuing. You met her acting in Nollywood. That's the career she was pursuing. But now you're getting married to her and you want her to stop it. So what do you want her to do? Okay, if you trusted her enough at that point to say, I'm going to marry you, then you need to also be able to trust her enough to walk the path. Same goes for the ladies, okay? Don't feed anybody's insecurity, but also do not use your insecurities to destroy your relationship. It's a very, very dangerous place to be. So is it possible for love and work to blend without struggles? Yes, it is. Yes, it is so possible. As a matter of fact, I don't see why it shouldn't work. Your love life and your work life, your private life and your public life can actually complement each other without the struggles of life and the things that come along with it. You can actually have a wonderful relationship. You can actually make the most of your relationship, but it's number one about the choices you make, about the expectations you have, and about the fact that you are able to understand the implications of being in a relationship with the person that you're going into a relationship with. You miss these three things, it's going to affect your productivity on both sides. Thank you very much. Maybe I can stop and take questions, and then at some point I can say a few other things. Thank you.
Wow. So I wish you could continue that topic.
Okay.
All right, everyone. From the presentation of that, never say never in a relationship, because you might not know. You must always be accountable in a relationship. Uh, when love comes a distraction, it destroys you, and your work is not enough. So I think it's been a powerful session. Such relationship talks and stuff, I think they always strike the nerve of everyone who's part of a certain group or any seminar that they're talking about love, because love is what brings us together. Love is what unites us all. So it's something that is very important for us to all understand how we feel about it, and much more important to blend the love and the work that we are doing so that there's harmony between the two. So, Mr. Ogo, if you have any few other pointers for us, can you kindly please give them out to us so that in the next few minutes, then we can now take questions, please.
Okay. So in trying to place it on a scale, I think that one of the things that we must pay attention to is the knowledge of self. The knowledge of self. A lot of us do not know ourselves, and you cannot bring somebody into your life if you don't know yourself, because what it means fundamentally is that you don't even know the people that fit into your life. I can tell you for a fact that not everyone fits into your life. Not everyone fits into your life. Okay. So if you bring the wrong person into your life, that is going to be a distraction and something that is going to definitely destroy your life or almost destroy your life. Now, imagine a situation. I believe that almost all of us or all of us, we're resident in Ghana or we know something about Ghana. Now, imagine a situation where you are supposed to be on a trip to Kumasi, but you're facing the Aflawo Road. And both, I mean, give and take, it's almost like 4 hours, same, both sides. Now you're going at 110 kilometers per hour, but you're facing the Aflawo Road. No matter what you do, no matter how fast you go, you would never get to Kumasi, but you can get to Aflawo. Now, but look at one of the things that's going to happen to you on that journey. You're going to buy food on that journey. You're going to buy water on that journey. You're going to chew groundnuts and banana on that journey. You're going to meet people and have conversations with them on that journey. You might even fall in love on that journey. But you need to realize that everything that has happened in that trip has nothing to do with the destination you were headed to. Has nothing to do with the life you wanted to live. Has nothing to do with what you are pursuing. That's how it is when you bring people into your life who do not fit into your life. And so you need to know who you are. What are your ambitions in life? Do you want to be an entertainer? Do you want to be a banker, a doctor, a politician, a pastor? Whatever it is that you want to be, who fits into your life? Because I can tell you for a fact, not everyone can tolerate the hazards and the implications that comes along with that life you have chosen. What is your disposition towards life? How do you approach life? What are your thresholds? You need to pay attention to that. You need to know what you struggle with and what you will not struggle with. The other thing is that you need to learn to love yourself. If you cannot love yourself, you cannot love another. You cannot love another. And that is one of the ways through which you can know whether you're being manipulated or whether you're just being pushed to run into something that is going to ultimately destroy you. How well do you know yourself and how much do you love yourself? Now, in loving yourself, what are the values that you are upholding? What are the values you are cherishing? What do you eat? When do you come home? What kind of job are you willing to do? How much are you willing to spend on other people? Do you know what is capable of killing you? Do you know what can help you survive and give you a longer life? How ambitious are you? What are the things you're pursuing in life? All those things are going to be reflected in how much you love yourself. And so when you have put all these things together and you are going into a relationship, you go into a relationship with your eyes open. I'm trying my best to keep it within the realm of work, so that it makes a bit more sense to us, since that's what this conference is all about. But it helps you look out, okay, and not make decisions based on how you feel, okay? So in spite of how you feel about this person, I can tell you for a fact, that feeling that you've had for this person, if you allow it to just pass, you'll discover that you can have that feeling for another person. So pay attention to, what you are looking out for. Is that person supportive of your work? It might not be that the person is a bad person, but the person just does not have it in him or her to support the kind of career that you're pursuing, the kind of work that you do. While I was talking, I saw a question. Can you change somebody? Please don't let anybody lie to you. You can't even change yourself. You don't know what you're capable of doing in the next minute. So don't ever believe that you can change anybody. People don't change because you love them. People change when they see the need to change. Always remember that. You cannot change anybody. And stop saying to people, if you love me, you will stop this. If you love me, you will not do this. Please stop setting yourself up. Stop making that comment. It's a dangerous comment to make. Okay? We don't go into relationship necessarily to change people. We go into relationship to add value. And so that is why you need to understand the implications of being in a relationship with someone. I mean, observe your parents. Some of you, your parents have been married for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And some of the times you go to complain to your mom about your dad and she just smiles and says, but you should have known your father. That's how he is. Think about it. Your father says the same thing about your mother, and they've known each other for 35 years and still they haven't changed. So why do you think you can change anybody? Please don't make that your projection. And then I also saw, what if you're religiously inclined and the person is not? Now, I'd like to say very quickly, any relationship you are in can work. It just depends on what you are willing to give up. That is why I talked about your values. What are your values? What do you stand for? You must stand for something, so that tomorrow you do not blame the person and keep looking for appreciation. After all I gave up for you, I quit school because of you, I quit my job because of you, I stopped being a Catholic because of you, and this is how you pay me back. No, you see, realities are what they are. Snakes bite, dogs bark. And so no matter what you do to a dog, even if you put a diamond necklace on a dog, it will bark. Always remember that. Okay, always remember that. So don't show people love in order to cajole them into changing. People change when they see the need to change. They see the need to change when they understand the implications that their actions are having on the relationship. And then also be certain in your heart that you're not just trying to manipulate people into becoming what you want them to be. You want them to talk in a certain way, act in a certain way, behave in a certain way because they're in a relationship with you. Allow people to be themselves. Don't recreate anybody. Allow people to be themselves. Okay? So if you love that person, stick with the person and understand the implications of being in a relationship with that person. Wow, I noticed we have just less than 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if AJ wants to say something and what happens from here.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. If anybody has a question, can the person please unmute the mic and ask Mr. Ogo some questions? That is, if you all have questions, if you have a question, unmute your mic and ask the question so we can move on from here, please. Any questions from members?
Yes.
Anyone?
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's not. So I was going to say I have a question. Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. So over the time, I'd been struggling with finding like a pair when it comes to men, right? Because I mean, I had been with men who were not close to what I always wanted. They would either be beneath me or they would usually want sort of beneath me in terms of my ambitions in life, my goals in life, what I wanted to do and all that. So I gave myself a pause, and then eventually I found somebody who is exactly what I want. Like we we rub shoulders in terms of what we want in life, our ambitions, our goals, our aims and whatnot. But the issue is sometimes we struggle because, I mean, at a point we are up there, at a point he's up there, at a point I'm up there, and then there's insecurities. It comes, right? Sometimes I feel like, oh, do I have to like do more? Other times too, I feel like he's nagging me too much. Other times I'm nagging him too much, and then it gives some sort of pressure, tension. Because all of us, we want to get up there, and then so recently I was thinking, okay, what do I have to do? I mean, I'm a woman. Do I have to like give up on some of the things I want to do because of us, or like, what do I have to do? So, I mean, when you were talking, I was just thinking, I'm like, oh God, because recently I was having this, sort of insecurities because I'm like, okay, like, how do we navigate these things? Because I'm not ready to let go of some of myself for him. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
that's my question.
Okay, and this is a very important question, and I would like to look at it from three different angles, if you don't mind. The first one is that it's possible, and please, while you're taking notes, just see if there is anyone that connects to you, So I'm just gonna try and see which one you fit into. So some of the times, especially because you found someone that you guys, like you said, connect on that level that you really, were anticipating. But in the process, because you felt you found that person, you felt it was a perfect match. And so there are so many things you did not communicate about what you two should expect and the implications of being in a relationship. You guys took it for granted. And so you were saying to yourself, okay, so if we're operating on this level, then we're definitely going to be rolling. But that's not how it is, because even your personal life, your background, the experiences that you've had as a person, your emotion and the level of emotional, the phrase that is coming to my mind is emotional intelligence, that you guys are operating in, will also play a role in how you guys appreciate each other and support each other. So I think you two need to sit down and talk a little more. Tell him what you anticipate. Don't wait to have a misunderstanding before that comes up. Give yourself the opportunity to have a conversation. Tell him that this is where you're headed in life. And 5 years from now, these are the things that you imagine you would have achieved if you're walking on this path. That's number one. This is what you're pursuing after. This is the life you want to live. Then he can also say his to you. So you know what implications stand you in the face as far as your relationship is concerned. And then you try as much as possible to be accountable. Try not to keep too many secrets. Don't keep secrets at all. Now, but the thing is, know what is a secret and what is private to you. They are two different things. For instance, the fact that you have promised not to keep secrets does not mean he has the right to go into your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is a tool of your privacy. And so, does the person love you enough to take your word for it? Okay, so you don't snoop into his phone, for instance, because you know that in the last 1 week there's a lady that he's been working with and all of that, and you want to know what they're discussing. That will not be his problem, or that will not be your problem. That will be the fact that there's some insecurity that somebody needs to heal from. Okay, now the other thing is, how do you guys connect emotionally, and what promises have you made to each other? You know, some of the times when we are, engrossed in the love that we feel, some of the times we say things like, I will not allow my work to come between me and my spouse. But what we don't realize is that some of those statements are not realistic. Okay. Now, for instance, if you're a journalist and you work with TV3 or GH1 and you do the morning show, the truth of the matter is that you will always leave the house around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. if the show is going to start at 6 and if you live within town. But if you're going to be doing a show starting at 6 a.m. on TV3 and you live in Kaswa, you can imagine when you're going to have to leave the house. Those are realities. Okay, and so you need to also be able to discuss the realities of your work, the hazards that come along with it. It's only at that point that you two will be able to support each other. But when you are doing that, pay attention to the person's disposition. Pay attention to the person's reaction. Don't just take what the person has said for it, but pay attention to the person's reaction so you know whether the person is actually willing to go the whole 9 yards with you. Because if the person is not willing to go the whole 9 yards with you, the matter will never resolve. And the support you're looking for will never be there. But love is not enough. You need to talk about it and agree on certain terms. I don't know if I've been helpful, but I think you should try that.
Yes, you have been helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Too much. Oh,
now you do pass.
You're really
my brother.
striking some nerves this evening, sir.
Thank you so much, bro.
All right, so I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question, and my question is, most of the times we always look about. Is it good to always set, let's say, standards that you're looking out for in a person or in a relationship? That, hey, I'm looking out for this person, I'm looking out for that person, I'm looking out for that person. I need these qualities in the person, I need that qualities in the person, I need the person to be doing this kind of job. Are these things really good to be looking out for in a relationship, or you just have to rather understand the nature of the person that you're going in for instead of looking at the external aspect of it?
Sure. Okay, so that's another very important question, and you guys are just asking all the right questions tonight. So, the very interesting thing about standards is that we all have our principles. We all know what we want out of life. We all know what we are pursuing after. We might not be able to articulate it in writing as effectively as other people, but we all know what we want out of life. This is where the problem lies. Some of the times we are not realistic with our expectations. We're not realistic with those standards. And so when you're not realistic with your standards, you're going to set levels or standards that are going to frustrate you and destroy any relationship that you walk into. So you've got to be realistic. Most of the times we don't pay attention to some of those things. Like we're saying about a doctor or a rich man or somebody that has a job. So do you want somebody that is working and has an ambition, and you see that this person is capable of growing through the ranks? Or you want somebody that is already made, that has a very, very fat and green bank account? What is it that you truly want? I'll tell you a very interesting story, and it happened right here in Ghana. Now, these two, this couple, they met, fell in love. And when the guy was going to propose, the woman said something very interesting to him. She said, I love you. I am happy to be your wife for the rest of my life. But there is something I don't do. All my life, it is something I've struggled with. And I don't think it is something I'll be willing to do even in marriage. I don't change diapers. I don't change diapers. And the guy laughed and said, you know what? Okay, no problem. If that's the issue, no big deal. We'll find a way to deal with it. She gets pregnant. First one, twins. But the man never forgot what his wife said. And it never caused a misunderstanding for one day. The guy hired house helps. And so when they're together, they're playing with the kids. The kids saw themselves. She hands the kids over. Somebody cleans them up and return the kids to her. Now, from a distance, you can say, what an irresponsible woman. No, but she laid her cards on the table. And the man she went into a relationship with was willing to accept her like that. I don't have a problem, or people shouldn't have a problem with women that don't know how to cook, men that are not serviceable and all those things. The question is, what do you want? What are you willing to tolerate? What are you capable of containing? And what are your thresholds in life? So it is important that you have standards. It is important that you are pursuing after those standards. There is nothing wrong with a woman saying, you know what? I don't want to be poor again in my life, and I don't want to struggle like I've struggled. So I want to be in a relationship with a man that is going to give us financial security. We all have our different reasons for going into relationships. We all have our different reasons for going into marriages. Your morality and my morality are not the same. So I cannot use my morality to judge you, and you shouldn't use your morality to judge me. So it is important to have standards. And when you are not realistic with the standards that you are setting, you're definitely going to frustrate yourself. Let me give you one final example in terms of standards. Now, there are so many women that are willing to fall in love with just anybody and be with just anybody and say, I'm in love. And so if I'm in love, I'll follow my heart. But you're going into a relationship with a prince that is capable of becoming a king in his community by virtue of the bloodline and by virtue of the circumstances around him. You need to pay attention to the fact that when that prince becomes king, it is very, very possible that he's going to go into a polygamous relationship. That is your reality. That is your reality. Now, you can hate it all you want. You can pray against it all you want. You can say all the things that you want to say. A time is going to come when it's going to stand you in the face. So what is your reality? How are you going to approach it? How realistic are you about the relationship that you've gone into? And how realistic are you about the standards that you've set? Because if you're not paying attention to it, tomorrow is going to come and you say to yourself that the guy has betrayed you, but you are not paying attention to the cultural expectations that are hanging over his shoulders. So have your standards, but be realistic about it.
To add to that, I don't know, I have a very silly mindset when it comes to standards, to the point that, I mean, if I'm dating someone,
thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, you were saying something.
No, not me. I think AJ said something, but Cynthia was trying to say something.
You can continue.
Okay.
Oh, no,
so
she can. Cynthia, you can continue.
All right, so I was saying that in terms of standard, like I have a very silly ideology when it comes to it.
Okay.
I mean, I tell me, when a man approaches me, I look at how the man is dressed, how he talks, how he smiles, how he even sits down, how he initiates conversation. And sometimes my friends go like, okay, I think you are asking too much. And I'm like, okay, do you think I'm asking too much? Or because I feel like, we being Africans, when it comes to in terms of how we behave or how we react, the pressure is put on women to act in certain ways, because I mean, you have to be a lady, but okay, who checks the gentlemen? Who asks them to dress in certain ways? Who asks them to walk in certain ways? So for me, I mean, when you come close to me, I'm like, okay, you have to talk to me in a certain way. You have to post certain things, even on the social media. You don't go about posting, funny jokes and think it's funny, because I don't think it's funny. So,
Okay.
I mean, do you think it's asking too much, or is just me being me?
I don't think it is asking too much, but you also maybe need to pay attention to whether or not the person you are expecting that from is capable of giving you what you're expecting. Okay, that's why I was talking about being realistic. Like I said, you cannot bring a dog into your life and expect the dog to behave like a goat. And one of the things that we must all pay attention to, and I'm very thankful that there are quite a number of ladies on the platform this evening, the boy child has not been properly groomed to becoming a man, okay? A good man, a good husband, a good father. We're not being properly groomed. Most of the times, the expectations on a young man is just pass your exams in school. You know, you're a boy, so there's somebody else that's going to take care of you. And that is very, very erroneous, because that is not what used to happen in the pre-colonial African society. Now, here's the deal. When a woman is growing up, she sits in a certain way and somebody says to her, oh, sit properly. Don't you know you're a woman? Is that how you're going to behave when you get into your husband's house? Oh, you don't know how to cook. Is that how you're going to behave when you go into your husband's house? Some of the times in a home, you would notice that the 8-year-old girl is doing laundry for her 13-year-old brother. And so the woman is properly groomed as, you know, as she's for her kids because of the way she's groomed. But imagine how men behave, because we're not properly groomed to do the right thing. And so it is either you're going to walk into a relationship and then support the person to mend or help the person to groom, or that is your expectation. Those are your standards. And so you look out for these things and make sure that whoever it is that is bringing it, that you're bringing into your life, is able to do it. The other thing is, imagine these two different scenarios. Somebody walks into Makala Market and wants to go buy cutlery. He walks into this shop and he's speaking with an American accent, and he just says, hey, ma'am, I want a set of cutlery. The woman doesn't understand what you've said. And so it's very likely that you're going to walk out of that place without being able to buy the cutlery. And then somebody else walks into that shop and says, hey, madam, well done. Do you have fork and knife? And the woman says, yes, I also have spoon. Do you want spoon? The person walks out of there with the cutlery, because the person spoke in a language that this person is able to relate to. So what are your expectations? What are your standards? And are you having those expectations of someone that is capable of giving it to you? We're all not groomed in that manner. And there are some people, no matter what it is, they are able to just, you know, give themselves, you know, that opportunity to express themselves. For instance, the way I am, I'm a Nigerian and a very proud one. And if we have this conversation long enough, I can assure you that I'm going to speak Pidgin English at some point. Now, people that don't appreciate it, there are some people that don't, you know, it puts them off. How can you speak Pidgin English? It is not a proper way to communicate, you know, but that's me, man. I would never throw away Pidgin English. You know, I actually write in Pidgin English. I translate a whole book, you know, into Pidgin English. And so for the other person, it might be that, oh, this person is not civilized enough. This person is not properly groomed. But that's me, and that's what I do. And there are some people and certain professions that you will never be able to take it away from. People like people in the police, the prison guys, the fire service, all those guys. You know, they are what do you call that thing? Wasa. You know, I mean. Jama, they are just so good at it. You will never take it away from them. And so if that is not the kind of life you want, don't fall in love with a cop, because they will always have it. you know, and no pidgin in a professional setting for you. It depends. It depends, you know. Number one, it's not just about a HR policy. It's also about the standards that help you drive the agenda. Okay. I mean, you can speak pidgin English. I mean, English language is just there. The most important thing is that you're able to communicate. And there are clients that will walk into your office and are not able to speak the kind of English you want them to speak. And who says Squid English must be the way that we assess ourselves? You know, I speak pidgin English in my office, and I allow my staff to speak pidgin English. And some of them are even learning to speak it now the Nigerian way. And it's so exciting. And we're still having fun in the office. So yes, standards are different, and I cannot judge you, you know, based on what I feel. It's good to have standards.
Oga, this one are too much. Oh, I'm speaking PG.
Hey, you want to make us start now? Now you go run, no?
Almost start to. I did with you. I did with you. You get some place where PG news. You get some place where PG news will carry you go. Where English no fit carry you go.
Don't be smart, I agree.
Yeah. As PG news person.
Any more questions, guys?
Word.
I have one question.
Okay.
All right, Cynthia.
AJ. Okay. So. Okay. So what will you advise someone that I had this issue? One lady came to me and she was like, she's a lady pastor, and this guy is also coming for. She do, and I'm like, if the guy is willing to learn, and there's a way that you can even teach the guy will feel like you are rubbing on his ego.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we can. So she's saying that maybe she will dump the guy and look for another person that can speak correct English, because she can't stand you speaking that kind of English the whole place, and people will be looking at her like. So I want to know the proper.
You see. I'll tell you something, and the advice you gave her is on point. I need to start from that place. You know, most of the times we make the mistake of assessing people based on our points of strength. And the recommendation I always make to people is don't judge people's weaknesses from your point of strength. And if you love this person, you need to go the whole 9 yards. But it's also important what you want. The question is, are you realistic? Because this person might love you enough to go the whole 9 yards with you. And English is something that people can learn.
Yeah.
It's something that people can learn. But if that is the basis upon which you're breaking a relationship, and this person, imagine that this person is the one that is going to be faithful to you, support you, carry you on his shoulders and all of that. But you would rather have someone that speaks good English, but treats you like garbage. It's a choice. It's a choice. But that doesn't mean that there are no people there that will speak good English and still treat you the way you want to be treated. The only thing you need to know is that this is your risk. This is your path. But if it is just about the fact that the person embarrasses you, then I think that is a complex problem. I don't think the basis should be about whether the person embarrasses you or not. You know, you need to be able to love the person enough and guide the person. But how you communicate, remember, it's not what you say or what you want to say, but how you say it that is also important. And when the people see the value of what you are bringing to the table, they will want to do their best to also become those things. I mean, think about it. Maybe the person is unable to speak English fluently because of the accident of his birth. You know, it's not his fault that he wasn't able to go to school like you. And if the tables turned, it would have been you that was not able to go to school. And so should that be the basis upon which you tear a relationship apart? But it's still about what you want and ultimately the consequences of the choices that we make. And so if she wants to walk away, I would actually say don't stop her. Don't stop her from walking away, but let her know that the choice that she's made will have consequences and she should be prepared for them.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Wow, 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 wow. This is so educative. Oga, I hail you. A very powerful presentation that you've delivered. I think we've learned so much.
Yeah.
Any
Please.
final question? Just one last question so that
Please,
we
I have
Yeah.
can.
final
I
comments.
saw a question about an uneducated person, being married to an educated person and what the implications could be. One of them is just as what Uche was saying about maybe some of the embarrassing situations that might come up. Okay, but it just depends on where you're coming from and what those things mean to you and whether they go to the root of the relationship that you're going into. And yes, some of the times the person is not going to be able to process words and statements that you make as effectively, as you would have wanted the information to be processed. And so you find yourself needing to speak a bit slower and breaking down your words a bit more carefully. And it also requires a lot of emotional intelligence because you cannot just lash out because the person doesn't understand what you are saying. And it's also possible that from time to time when you get upset, imagine that you say something like, wow, that was a silly thing to do. And then the person says, do you mean I'm silly? Okay. Or do you mean I'm stupid? But that is not what you meant. It was just a statement, and before you know it, a misunderstanding might ensue. And so that is one of the implications, and you need to guide yourself, prepare for these implications, and be patient enough to teach, be patient enough to observe, be patient enough to dedicate yourself to whatever it is that you want to do, in that relationship. And of course, when you go into restaurants, is another matter. Maybe you want to eat with fork and knife. The guy is not used to it, so he will just wash his hand and dig in, get ready for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that some of the times we just get too Western that we forget that we're Africans. So let people be themselves and enjoy yourself. That might be good.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. All too soon. Oga, I hail you. You don't do everything.
Only Oga,
Yes.
Oga.
Hey. Cynthia K, you had something to say?
Yeah, so I was going to say that in terms of you dating someone who is not really educated, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have an issue with it, but the only thing would be that it would have an issue on their self-esteem and their self-confidence, because if they know that you are, educated, much more educated than them, no matter what you do, you have to choose your words carefully now, because you have to, try to pat them on the back, like babysit them, pamper them, do all of that, because no matter what because I've been in that situation before. I was seeing some guy, like I'm a very good guy. He had like everything, but the only issue was his R and his L, like it was that bad, like extremely bad. And I was like, okay, this guy is good, so let me see if I can. But it got to a point I realized that I can't do it, because then when I go out, no matter what I say, it's like he has issues with his self-esteem, his self-confidence, and I can't open my mouth to say anything, because he goes like, oh, because you have it all figured out, that's why you are doing this. But I really didn't mean, so many times I didn't mean it the way he thought I meant it. So I think we have to look into that as well, like the person's self esteem and their confidence level.
Yeah, I'd like to say very quickly that it's a two-way traffic. It's a two-way traffic. And some of the times it's not just about the person, like you said, you want to correct the person, but maybe it's about the how and at the moment. And just some of the times people just want to be allowed to be themselves. So if, for instance, we all, one way or another, when we lose our guards, especially when we have gotten very close to people, when we lose our guards and we become free, we speak in a certain way and not the way we speak in public. It happens to everybody. So depending on where you come from, you will have that accent coming out from time to time. It doesn't, except if you never grew up in that area. But if you did, and wherever it is that you grew up, you're going to have it. Okay, so there's the R and the L, there's the N and the L, there's the H and the O or U, there's the U and the A. it's just like that, and we all have it. So the Fantis have it, the Akans have it, the Igbos have it, the Yorubas have it, and all of that. And quite frankly, you know, I when I understand that the person I'm in a relationship with is a Yoruba woman, a typical Yoruba woman, I know that definitely when she is talking, she will talk like she is singing, you know. So some of the times she will not understand what we are doing, you know. I mean, it will come, it will happen, okay? And so it will not be about her, it will now be about me and how I appreciate that. Why do I have to correct her and say, you know what, you always have to talk like you're singing? You know, and I'll leave you with this very interesting joke. So two priests, they were traveling. One was Japanese and the other one was an Hausa man. So they saw a statement and they wanted to say it. Father Francis fried 4 fishes for 4 fathers from France. Now the Hausa man begins and he says, Father Francis fried 4 fishes for 4 fathers from France. And the Japanese man laughed his head off and said, can you imagine, as old as you are, see how you're talking? And the Hausa man says, so say it. And the Japanese man said, Father Francis fried 4 fishes for 4 fathers from France. Who is correct? And so some of the times, you know, we're looking at people from our own orientation without paying attention to their own orientation. And the way to achieve a balance is to be able to look beyond ourselves, you know, and see that, look, this person, there's nothing wrong with this person. If it is just about the language, there's nothing wrong with this person. Let the person speak the way he or she speaks, you know, and that is where Africans always lose it. When we listen to the Israelis, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Dutch, you know, the Germans, the British, and all of that, they speak with their accent without apology. We are the ones that are always trying.
Please, can I contribute something?
We are almost wrapping up, Cynthia. Uchi.
Please, now let me talk small.
Last question and we're closed.
Okay, it's not like a question. No. You see that most of the time, there's this guy I met one time. So I think he had issues in his former relationship, so he brought it into his new one. So he was kind of asking me what he should do about the girl, like the way the girl treats him. And I'm like, what has been your issue? So he said most of the time he doesn't like when the girl comes up to correct him and all that. So I was like, okay, so that means you feel intimidated. He said yes. And I asked him what happened in your, like when you were growing up. So he was asking me, how did I know that something happened? I said, maybe that's why you are acting that way. Something might have happened that has shaped your mind into that kind of situation. So sometimes most of the people that we come across, they have had a lot of issues that they don't want it to repeat again. So that is why they act some certain way. So if we can also go in, try to calm down and teach them some small with some language that won't come off as if we are trying to intimidate them as well.
Yeah, but the other thing,
about communication.
Yeah, the other thing that the other Cynthia said, which I would like to reiterate, you see, don't feed people's insecurities. When you discover that people have an issue like that, encourage them to heal, support them to heal, but don't take responsibility for their past. You can only support them to heal, but don't take responsibility for their past. Don't, you know, if somebody is acting like that, the fault is not the lady that he's in a relationship with right now. The fault is with him not being able to walk through the process and heal. Because he hasn't cleared his head of the experiences of the past. You know, so that is something that also needs to be properly managed and properly handled.
Wow. All too soon. This session is over. And I would like to say a very, very big thank you to you, Ogu. You've been so phenomenal. Your presentation has been just on point. At least you've struck the nerves in each and everyone who has been listening to your presentation. And I know that each and everyone here has already had second thoughts about their relationship, has already started revisiting their relationship, or are thinking of doing the right thing in their relationship because of what you've said and what you've learned. And I think you've really done so well. And before we go, I'd like to acknowledge those people who have sponsored us. That is a Real Talk with Sandra, Belaqua Mineral Water, AJ Media, Blaqsheep Media, and HitzAfrik Radio Africa. So we'd like to say thank you to the organizers of this powerful event, Citylife Management, and a very big thank you to all the participants, the audience, and everyone. You've done so well. Dope contributions and everything. And thank you to you mostly, Mr. Ogu. I'll come personally for more training myself.
Thank you. And I have books that I'd like to give you all. So maybe I'll connect with Mark. I think there's 5 of you here. So I'll connect with Mark and I'll make the books available. She will send them to you. It's on the house.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And please, when someone wants to locate you, your social media handle so they can reach out to you.
Yeah, so on Facebook, I'm Ogochukwu Nweke. Maybe I should write it out. Ogochukwu Nweke on Facebook. And on Facebook as well, we have a page called The Marriage Clinic with Ogo. And then on LinkedIn, I am Ogochukwu Nweke as well. And then on Twitter, I am Brave African. And then on Instagram, Marriage Clinic.
Wow, that's nice. So anyone who wants to reach out to Og should just try as much as would follow him. And whatever relationship problems you have or thing you need to discuss when it comes to your relationship and building a relationship, I think we all know the right place to go. So Makia, are you in? Do you have any final words?
Yeah, as usual, I want to say a very big thank you to God.
And you're Mario.
Hello. I want to say a very big thank you to God for how far He has brought us. And also a very big thank you to my man, Mr. Ogochukwu. I always love your presentation. And I can't have enough of you. Thank you so much. And God richly bless you. And to our host today, AJ was, God bless you. Thank you so much for everything you are doing for Citylife Management. We really appreciate you so much. And we say God bless you. And to all those who are able to be with us tonight, we say thank you. And we hope tomorrow is going to be the last day of Career and Love Affairs Conference. You will join in. Like I said, we are going to have a surprise for all those who are able to join us from day 1 to today. Thank you so much, all of you, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.